सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। समस्तजनकल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरम्। ॐ श्री चिन्मय सद्गुरवे नमः। 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 We had completed our study of 7th chapter of Srimad Bhagavad Gita. The name of that chapter was Jnana Vijnana Yoga, the yoga of knowledge and wisdom. 8th chapter is actually a small detour. 7th chapter is connected directly with 9th chapter. The flow of thoughts which were there in 7th chapter, they continue from 9th chapter. But Bhagavan mentioned few things at the end of 7th chapter, because of which Arjuna asked a question and 8th chapter began. Just a highlight of key topics that were covered in the 7th chapter. It helps us to understand the context. What is 8th chapter going to give us? 7th chapter, Bhagavan began by saying that I will teach you this knowledge which will not only remove all your doubts, but you will also see the result of knowledge in your life. It won't remain mere information. It will transform your life and you will see the result of this knowledge. And he said, this knowledge is such, knowing this, nothing else remains to be known. Everything else you learn, the more you learn, you realize there is so much more to be learnt. Whose statement was that? I think Newton or Einstein. I think Newton. He said, all I can say is throughout my life, I have been collecting pebbles on the ocean of knowledge. That I did so many things, but still more is there to be discovered. Unlike that knowledge, Bhagavan says, spiritual knowledge is such, having known the truth, nothing else remains to be known. No more discontentment, no more unfulfilled agendas. But the irony is, out of several human beings, very few people come to seek. And even fewer reach. Few people seek, even fewer reach this goal. Then Bhagavan spoke about what is the nature of God. In Bhagavad Gita, how is Bhagavan introduced? Bhagavan said, God equals consciousness plus creation. I am that consciousness which is appearing as this universe. In fact, there is nothing here which is different than me. I am that hidden thread which holds each and every bead together. Beads are names and forms. The people, the mountains, the rivers, the trees, animals. And they differ from each other. Bead A might be one color, bead B might be different color. But the thread is common across all beads. Like that, amidst all names and forms, that underlying substratum is God. If this is the case, if I have to meditate upon God, what can I hold on to meditate upon God? Bhagavan said you can hold on to anything in this creation. But to make our life easier, to make our meditation easier, Bhagavan pointed 12 vibhutis. Vibhutis means exalted expression of God. If we meditate upon any random object, instead of meditating upon God, our mind will get stuck to that object. Technically speaking, everything is God. But he said, I will point out 12 things. One of those 12 things was sun. Prabhasmi Shashi Surya Yoho. I am the effulgence in the sun. Now, how should we meditate upon sun? Just like the sun ray pervades the sun, God pervades creation. After a month we are discussing this. Some of you might be wondering, is this chapter we covered or is it something new? Rasoham apsu kaunteya. In water I am the sapidity. What is the substratum here? Water or sapidity? Sapidity. Just like sapidity pervades the water, consciousness pervades creation. Just like sun ray pervades the sun, consciousness pervades creation. So bring sun in your meditation and meditate upon sun as God. Support is sun. But the way to think is sun ray is pervading the sun in that way. Then Bhagavan said, the main cause of bondage, why one doesn't come to discover God, is Maya. 3 gunas of Maya, they cloud our mind. They don't allow us to think clearly. Sattva guna allows us to think. So you can say 2 out of the 3 gunas of Maya, they bind us. Rajoguna makes our mind agitated. Tamoguna makes our mind dull. Now and then we get glimpses, we get sparks. Oh, this is how the truth is. This is how I should think. But very quickly, this mind goes back into old habits. That is the power of Maya. So is there any chance for us? What did Bhagavan say? Those who hold on to my feet, they cross over this Maya. Whatever is needed for them is brought to them by my grace, and their spiritual journey is my responsibility. That is what Bhagavan promises. Daivi hesha gunamayi mama maya duratyaya. Mame vaye prapadyante maya mesham tarantite. They cross over Maya. Then Bhagavan went into the topic of different types of devotees. He said, our life is such, at different points, we might be seeking different things. If some difficulty comes in our life, going to Bhagavan to solve that difficulty. That is the first stage of devotion called as Artha Bhakta. Second type of devotee was Jijnasu. Who is a Jijnasu? Who is seeking God for spirituality. He wants knowledge in life, sadhana chatushtaya in life. And he says, Bhagavan, please bless me with this. Swami Vivekananda's story is very interesting. He himself was in very difficult condition when he went to Ramakrishna Paramhamsa, not the first time, but after a few times. Family had lot of challenges. And Ramakrishna Paramhamsa tells him, you go and pray to Divine Mother. She will give what you want. And he goes inside, stands in front of her, and asks for knowledge and dispassion. He comes out and says, Ramakrishna Paramhamsa asks him, what did you ask? Did you ask her for money? He says, no, I asked her for knowledge and dispassion. He said, what did you do? Go again. Second time he goes, stands in front of her, asks for knowledge and dispassion. Then he comes out and says, you are doing some magic that I am unable to ask material things from her. Then he blesses him by saying that your family will not have to suffer. To that extent, it will be taken care. You devote your life to Divine Mother. We took this example because Artha Bhakta and Jijnasu Bhakta. Artha Bhakta is in distress, Jijnasu Bhakta wants knowledge. Third Bhakta was Artharthi Bhakta. Everything is fine in his life, but he wants some material thing. Nothing wrong as long as he goes to God. Bhagavan, give me this. Bhagavan, give me that. What is good in that person? He is coming to Bhagavan to ask. Then the fourth Bhakta was Jnani Bhakta, one who has recognized oneness with Bhagavan. That is Jnani Bhakta. And then Cha was also there. What was Cha referring to? Nishkama Bhakta. Nishkama Bhakta. But Nishkama Bhakta and Jnani Bhakta are one and the same. We don't have to make too much of division. But Madhusudana Saraswati ji makes a special category for them. Who is dearest to Bhagavan out of all these four? He says, Jnani Bhakta is dearest to me. He is loving me without any reason. Not to solve his problems, not even to gain knowledge, not even to gain any material thing. Jnani Bhakta was dearest to Bhagavan. Then he took up the topic of those people who worship other altars, other devatas. Is that a problem? Bhagavan said no. Let them worship whatever they want. But one thing they should know is, giver of result is me alone. I strengthen their faith in that altar by giving them desired result. We cannot see any greater teaching of secularism than this. Bhagavan didn't mention which altar. He said, take any altar. But it is one pure consciousness pervading over creation, which is the bestower of results. Some people come to me directly, and some people come to me through some devatas. But those results are finite. That is something they will come to learn eventually. That is what he mentioned. Now, towards the end of 7th chapter, Bhagavan planted some seeds of 8th chapter. He wanted to make sure whether Arjuna was attentive. Sometimes we keep nodding our head. Once I was with Puja Guruji, and he was telling something. Everybody was nodding their head like this. And in between, he mentioned one statement in Marathi. It was part of some bhajan, which said, without experience, don't shake your head. Anubhava veena mana halavu na kore. Hari bhajana veena kala ghalavu na kore. He says, without experiencing God, don't just keep nodding your head. So suddenly everybody's head stopped. So Bhagavan wanted to see whether Arjuna is paying attention or is he just nodding his head. So very casually he mentioned 7 new terms. He said, those who are people of realization, they meditate upon me having understood all these 7 things. What did he say? Let's come to 7th chapter, last 2 verses, 29th and 30th. Jara Marana Mokshaya. Together. Jara Marana Mokshaya Mamashritya Yatantiye Te Brahma Tadviduh Krutsnam Adhyatmam Karma Chakhilam Sadhibhuta Adhidaivam Mam Adhiyajnam Ch8 viduh Prayana Kale Pichamam Te vidur yukta chetasaha. Jara Marana Mokshaya Mam Ashritya Yatanti. These people are striving for liberation, to be free from old age and death. Pain of old age is Jara, Marana is death. Devoted to me, holding on to me, they are striving for moksha. What are the things that they know? Te Brahma Tad Viduhu. They know what is Brahma. Krutsnam Adhyatmam. They know what is Adhyatma. They know what is Karma. Krutsnam Adhyatmam Karma Chakhilam. Sadhibhutam, they know what is Adhibhuta. Adhidaivam, they know what is Adhidaivam. Sadhiyajnam, they know what is Adhiyajna. Prayana kale pichamam te viduhu yukta chetasaha. Even during the time of death, prayana kala means when they are ready to drop their body, those people know how to meditate upon me. They attain liberation. Now, Bhagavan was nicely mentioning all these points. 4 types of devotees who all are worshipping which altar, devata worship and so on. And suddenly he mentions these 2 verses. Now, Arjuna, he has heard these terms probably earlier also. Don't think Arjuna is studying Vedanta for the first time in the battlefield. If he has grown up with Dronacharya as his teacher, Bhishma Pitama in his family, he has already learned a lot of spirituality. But there is a difference between casual learning and a point where that question becomes relevant to us. It might take several years sometimes. But when we are going through that situation, when we want that knowledge, that question becomes very important to us. Now Bhagavan said, man of realization, Yukta Purusha, knows all these terms. What is Arjuna's goal? To become Yukta Purusha. Now he says, Bhagavan, I cannot be satisfied with just the word. I want to know the precise meaning of each word. This becomes the seed of 8th chapter. The name of 8th chapter is Taraka Brahma Yoga. Taraka Brahma Yoga. That which will liberate us in true sense. That secret is given here in the 8th chapter. It has 28 verses. relatively short chapter. You can write down the outline of it. That way when we complete the chapter, just like we did for 7th chapter, we should be able to look back and say whether we got what was promised. Verse number 1 and 2 talk about 7 questions by Arjuna. Some places you will find it as 8 questions, but Madhusudana Saraswati ji says 2 of them, they are actually 1 question. It's not 2 separate questions. Okay, verse number 1 and 2, Arjuna's 7 questions. Verse number 3 and 4 talk about Bhagavan's answer to the first 6 questions. Verse number 3 and 4, in 2 verses Bhagavan answers 6 out of 7 questions. Verse number 5 through 22, Bhagavan is answering 7th question of Arjuna. Only 1 question he spends, verse number 5 through 22, to answer his 7th question. What is his 7th question? At the time of death, how are you to be known by people of concentrated mind? At the time of death, how are you to be known? How do you become known to those people? How should those people know you who have a concentrated mind? There is one verse which all of us should memorize. That is verse number 9. I'll tell you the benefit of this verse, but let's complete the outline first. Verse number 23 to 28 is journey of an upasaka after death. After dropping this body, where does a devotee go? This is your 8th chapter in your palm. Okay, verse number 1 and 2, 7 questions by Arjuna. 3 and 4, answers to the first 6 questions. 5 to 22, 7th question answer. How are you to be known at the time of death? By those who have a concentrated mind. And 23rd to 28th, journey of an upasaka after death. Let us chant the 9th verse first, that we all can start memorizing from now. By the time we reach 9th, it will still be some time. Please repeat. Kavim Puranam Anushasitaram Kavim Puranam Anushasitaram Anoraniyam Samanusmaredyah Anoraniyan Samanusmaredyah Sarvasya Dhataramachintya Rupam Sarvasya Dhataramachintya Rupam Aditya Varnam Tamasaf Parastat Aditya Varnam Tamasaf Parastat. Together. Kavim Puranam Anushasitaram Anoraniyam Samanusmaredyah Sarvasya Dhataramachintya Rupam Aditya Varnam Tamasaf Parastat. If we have to remember God, we need some clarity about what is nature of God. And this one verse summarizes who is Bhagavan. Meaning of the verse we will see when we reach there. If we memorize this verse, wherever we might see Bhagavan's Vigraha, it might be at home, it might be a temple that we are visiting, the emotion, the bhavana which should come in our heart is this verse. That Bhagavan, you are of this nature, I meditate upon you. To the extent we keep chanting, to the extent we keep reflecting, that verse itself will open up many things for us. That is what we call as God's grace. What was Arjuna's 7th question? At the time of death, how are you to be known by those of concentrated mind? Bhagavan's answer is this. This is my nature. One should meditate upon me in this way. What happens to that person who meditates in this way? All of that we will see when those verses come. One thing to note here is, in Sanatan Dharma, death is looked at in a very mature way. Birth and death, both are two sides of the same coin. That which is inevitable need not be feared. How to make ourselves fearless towards death? That is this chapter. That's why one of the chapter which is chanted during the 14 days time, when somebody passes away, this is one of the chapter. 2nd, 8th, 15th, then sometimes 12, sometimes 18. 2nd, 8th, 15th, they are definitely chanted. Why? Because it gives a perspective how to lift our mind towards this inevitable fact of life called death. There is one mantra in Upanishad. It says, Krato smara, krutam smara. What is it? Krato smara, krutam smara. This person is telling his own mind, who is ready to drop his body, O mind, Krato smara. Kratu means Bhagavan. Remember God. And Krutam smara. Krutam means remember all the good deeds that you have done. And worship of God, because he has done every day. Meditated upon Bhagavan throughout his life, he remembers all of that. On the strength of that, he says, I have no fear of letting go of this body. It's a beautiful mantra. Krato smara, krutam smara. Krato smara, krutam smara. Hanuman Chalis also, we chant this. Tumhare bhajan Ram ko paave, janam janam ke dukha bisarave, anta kal raghubar pura jai, jahan janma hari bhakta kahai. Anta kal raghubar pura jai. This devotee says, because I have worshipped Hanumanji, my next destination is Bhagwan Rama's abode. And how will I live there? I will live as a devotee of God. Antakala Raghubara Purajai. There he is called as Hari Bhakta. That is this Taraka Brahma Yoga. Taraka Brahma Yoga. Okay, now let us see the questions of Arjuna, first and the second verse. Arjuna uvacha kim tad brahma kim adhyatmam kim karma purushottamam adhibhutam cha kim proktam Adhidaivam kimuchyate Adhiyajna katham kotra Dehesmin madhusudana Prayana kale cha katham Neyosi niyatatmabhihi Arjuna uvacha Kim tad brahma kim adhyatmam Kim karma purushottama Adhibhutam cha kim proktam Adhidaivam kimuchyate Adhiyajna katham kotra Dehesmin madhusudana Prayana kale cha katham Neyosi niyatatmabhihi. Note down the questions carefully. First question is, Kim Brahma? Arjuna's way of asking question is also beautiful. Very precise and short. Sometimes when we ask questions, the way we ask tells how much we have thought about it. The more precise and clear the question is, more I know what I don't know. Knowing what we don't know is also a good quality. His first question is, what is Brahman? Kim Brahma? Now Madhusudana Saraswati ji, he gives more elaboration. What is behind his mind? When Arjuna says, what is Brahma? What does he want to ask? He says he wants to ask whether it is conditioned or unconditioned. Because you just now said, God is that which is consciousness plus creation. Does it always appear with creation? Or is it independent by itself? So that clarity he is seeking. Kim Brahma? What is Brahma? Second question is, Kim Adhyatmam? What is Adhyatma? Now, Adhyatma here doesn't literally mean spirituality. Adhyatma means, how is that consciousness understood in the context of body? Consciousness is all pervading. But how does it appear with the context of this body? Kim Adhyatmam? Two questions done. First question was, Kim Brahma? What is Brahma? Second is, Kim Adhyatmam? What is that consciousness in the context of this body? Kim Karma? What is action? Because in 7th chapter, 29th verse, Bhagavan said, Adhyatmam karma cha akhilam. He knows what is all karmas. So Arjuna wants to ask, are you talking about only Vedic karmas? The fire sacrifice that we do? Or are you talking about all kinds of actions? So please define clearly for me, what is karma? What is action? Does it mean only Vedic karma or all karmas? And he is addressing Bhagavan by the name Purushottama. Purushottama, commentators have given very beautiful meaning why he is using that name. One commentator says, he is calling him Purushottama because he says, Bhagavan, please don't tell me, why are you asking me all these questions? Because you are the best amongst all Purushas, I know you have these answers. Don't ignore my questions as irrelevant. And I know that you have these answers. O Purushottama, please answer. Second one was beautiful. Another commentator, he says, those who are attending Sanskritam class, this is or in general, anybody. What are the three Purushas which are there in Sanskritam? Pratama Purusha, Madhyama Purusha, Uttama Purusha. In Sanskritam, what is Pratama Purusha? Third person. Pratama Purusha is third person. Saha Gacchati. So Saha is Pratama Purusha, third person. He goes. What is Madhyama Purusha? Second person. Tvam Gacchasi. You go is second person. What is first person? Uttama Purusha. Aham Gacchami. I go is Uttama Purusha. So Aham is Uttama Purusha, Tvam is Madhyama, Saha is Prathama Purusha. What is first person again? Uttama Purusha. What is the name of Bhagavan he is using here? Purushottama. That God who is not different from me. This is their tapasya of words. Just looking at that word, opening up some hidden meaning in it. Do you all get it or no? Purushottama, because in Sanskrit grammar, Uttama Purusha is first person. So to indicate that Bhagavan is not different from me, he is saying, O Purushottama, please answer these questions. Okay, 3 questions done. What is Brahma? What is Adhyatma? What is Karma? 4th question is, Adhibhutam cha kim proktam. What is Adhibhuta? What is it? That which is said to be existing in the material plane. Bhuta means material things. Adhibhuta means how is that Brahman to be understood with regards to this material plane? What is Adhibhuta? 5th question is, what is Adhidaiva? What is Adhidaiva? What is that which is said to be existing in the divine plane? What is Adhidaiva? Is it meditation on devatas? Or is it that consciousness which pervades all devatas? That is his question. What is Adhidaiva? Is it literally referring to some devatas somewhere? Or is it referring to consciousness which is pervading all devatas? What is Adhidaiva? How many done? 5. 6th one, he says, Adhiyajna katham kaha atra dehe asmin. So, this point, Madhusudana Saraswati ji says, they are not 2 questions. It's only one question. It has a subcategory. What is this question? Adhiyajna kaha. Who is Adhiyajna? Who is Adhiyajna in this body? Atra dehe, atra asmin dehe, Adhiyajna kaha. And how should he be thought of? Kaha means who, katham means how. In this body, who is Adhiyajna? And how should that Adhiyajna be thought of? How should I recognize Adhiyajna in me? Is it referring to some particular yajna that we do, like the fire sacrifice? Or is it referring to different actions that are being done? And what is the relation of that Adhiyajna to this body? Is it inside the body? Is it outside the body? If it is inside the body, how should I think about it? Is it the intellect or is it something else? What is this Adhiyajna? O Madhusudana. The name of Bhagavan Krishna is Madhusudana. means one who destroyed Madhu and Kaitaba, Rakshasa. What do they represent? Raga and Dvesha. Madhu means attachment. Kaitaba refers to aversion, hatred. Just like this pair of opposite Bhagavan Krishna destroyed, all pairs of opposites may Bhagavan destroy in my life. Flip your pages to the 7th chapter verse. Which verse was that? See 28th verse, what was it? Punya karmana. Second line was Te dvandva moha nirmukta. Those people who are devoid of strong pairs of duality. So who is Madhusudana? One who will remove these pairs of duality. That's why the word Madhusudana is used. 7th chapter, Bhagavan had said, Te dvandva moha nirmukta. Now comes the 7th question. Prayana kale cha katham neyah asi niyata atmabhihi. Prayana kala means at the time of death, how are you to be known by people of concentrated mind? Niyata atmabhihi means those who have the ability to concentrate their mind on God. And at that time, how should you be known? What did Bhagavan say in the end of 7th chapter? Prayana kale pichamam te vidur yukta chetasaha. His adjective was yukta chetasaha. What is Arjuna's adjective? Niyatatmabhihi. They mean the same. Yukta chetasa means one who has a concentrated mind. Niyatatmabhihi means one who has trained his mind to be concentrated. See, this is one quality of a good student. Whatever he listens, he can present it in his own words without changing the meaning. That is Arjuna, Yukta Chetasaha, replaced by Niyatatmabhi. Prayana Kala. During the time of death, how are you to be known? How should I meditate upon you? Now Bhagavan answers. Verse number 3 is answer to question 1 to 3. Shri Bhagavan uvacha Aksharam Brahma Paramam Swabhavodhyatma muchyate Bhuta bhavodbhavakaraha Visargah karma sannitaha Shri Bhagavan uvacha Aksharam Brahma Paramam Swabhavodhyatma muchyate Bhuta bhavodbhavakaraha Visargah karma sannitaha. Great is the student, great is the teacher. Student's question was in one word. Teacher's answer is also in one word. And student understands. That is their greatness also. What is Brahma? First question. Answer is Aksharam Brahma Paramam. Akshara, that which is imperishable, is Brahman. Bhagavan is as though telling Arjuna, you look at this world and tell me what is imperishable. Do you think he'll find one thing at least? World, huh? He says, everything in this world is perishable. Some things perish quickly, some things perish over time. That which is substratum of this world is imperishable. That imperishable is Brahman. But the word Om is also called as Brahma. Om ityekaksharam Brahma. Om is called as Akshara Brahma. Iti Akshara. So to remove this possible misunderstanding, the word Paramam is used. Means it is talking about unconditioned consciousness. What did Bhagavan say? Aksharam Brahma Paramam. So Paramam is to indicate that this truth is unconditioned. Not with any conditionings that are represented even by the word Om. So Om represents consciousness plus waking state, dream state and deep sleep state. So Aksharam Brahma Paramam refers to that truth which is devoid of all three states. This is how Shankaracharya ji explains why the word Paramam is used. What was the second question? What is Adhyatma? Bhagavan gives beautiful answers. He says, Swabhava is Adhyatma. Now, Swabhava doesn't mean tendency. Swabhava. Swabhava means Brahman which is present as Swa in this body. That is called as Adhyatma. Okay, in simple words, wherever this consciousness identifies itself in this body, that is called as Adhyatma. Swabhavaha. Swa refers to that consciousness, wherever it has gotten identified. Identified with body, identified with mind, identified with intellect, identified with vasanas, identified with sense organs. That's why we become perceiver, feeler, thinker. Perception happens through sense organs. Feeling happens through mind. Thinking happens through intellect. All of this put together is called as Adhyatma. Wherever there is notion of I in this body, that is called as Adhyatma. Wherever there is notion of Atma in Anatma in this body, that is called as Adhyatma. So when we say Adhyatmika sadhana, it includes all of these. Adhyatmika sadhana is not only about knowing nature of consciousness. I should know what are my vasanas. How do these vasanas influence my mind? Why did this body come into being in the first place? How these vasanas get strengthened by repetitive thinking. How my sense organs can be turbulent. How to quieten them. All of this is part of Adhyatmika sadhana. What is Adhyatma again? Wherever there is I notion in this body, that is called as Adhyatma. You know, there was one verse in 6th chapter, Uddharedatmanatmanam natmanam avasadayet. Uddharet atmana atmanam. By Atma you should lift Atma. What was the meaning of Atma there? One Atma was intellect. Atmana means with the intellect. Atmanam uddharet. Second Atma was referring to mind. Why was mind and intellect, why were they called as Atma? Because there is I notion there. we take mind to be me, we take intellect to be me. Secondarily, they are called as Atma. I wanted to introduce this term, Adhyatma, because next session again we'll think over it. But hold on to these definitions. They're very precise definitions. In this body, wherever there is I notion, whenever consciousness identifies with not self, self identifying with not self, in this body, that is called as Adhyatma. Consciousness identifying, not identifying, pervading objects, will it be called as Adhyatma? No. Separate word will be used. Adhibhuta is for that. Adhyatma is only drawing the boundary across this body. I think this much is enough. Now you understand why 8th chapter is not taken up for Jnana Yajnas. Have you seen any Jnana Yajna? 7 days talk on 8th chapter? No. Because where you will have time to discuss all this? Adhyatma, Adhibhuta. But it's a very beautiful chapter. Once these few verses are done, next remaining verses are on sadhana. How to turn mind towards Bhagavan. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Please do revise this.